The alarm on my wrist screamed before I even saw the shadow move, and I threw myself sideways into a pile of broken metal, just as something huge stepped out from behind a wall of collapsed concrete. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it over my own breathing. I was Oliver Hale, a salvage runner working alone in a dead war zone that everyone else had given up on, and in that first second I was certain my luck had finally run out. The creature towering over me was not human. It stood on two legs, its body covered in dark plates that shimmered faintly in the dim light, and its eyes, 6 of them, glowed a soft gold as it studied me the way a predator studies something it has already decided is not a threat. I did not move. I barely breathed. Every survival instinct in my body told me to run, but running from something that fast would only end one way. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the creature tilted its head, almost curious, and stepped back into the shadows without a sound. I stayed frozen for another 10 seconds before I finally allowed myself to breathe out. I had been sent into this ruin on a simple contract: find old technology, log it, and leave before dark. The city around me used to be a research outpost before the war reached it. Now it was nothing but broken towers and silence, the kind of silence that made your ears ring because there was nothing else to listen to. I was not supposed to run into anything alive here. That was the whole point of choosing this place. Everyone said it was empty. Everyone was wrong. I picked myself up, brushed the dust off my jacket, and checked my scanner. The readings were unlike anything I had logged before, a strange energy signature pulsing from somewhere deep inside the largest structure ahead of me, a tower half swallowed by collapsed rock. My hands were still shaking, but curiosity is a strange thing. It does not care how scared you are. I moved carefully, staying close to the walls, listening for any sound that did not belong. The tower's entrance was blocked by rubble, but there was a gap just wide enough for a person to slip through. I hesitated only a second before climbing in. Inside, the air was cooler, and the silence felt heavier, like the whole building was holding its breath. My flashlight cut through the dark, revealing a long hallway lined with broken equipment and shattered glass. At the end of the hallway stood a single door, still intact, still sealed. I reached it and found the release mechanism still working, a small miracle in a place this old. The door slid open with a low groan, and what I saw inside made me forget for a moment that I was supposed to be afraid. A suit of armor stood on a raised platform in the center of the room, untouched by the destruction around it. It was sleek, dark, almost elegant, built with curves and lines that made it look less like a weapon and more like art. I had seen plenty of alien tech in my years doing this job, but nothing like this. I laughed under my breath, mostly from nerves, mostly to break the tension building in my chest. "Whose fancy armor is this?" I said out loud, more to myself than anyone else. It felt good to hear my own voice after so much silence. "Mine," a voice answered from behind me, low and calm, carrying a weight that made the single word feel like a warning and a promise at once. I spun around so fast I nearly lost my footing. Standing in the doorway was the same creature I had seen outside, except now, in the light, I could see her more clearly. She was massive, easily twice my height, her plated body moving with a grace that did not match her size. Her 6 golden eyes locked onto me, and for the first time I understood that I was not just looking at some wandering animal. I was looking at something that ruled. I raised my hand slowly, showing I meant no harm, though I doubted that mattered much to something this powerful. "You're the one who left that reading on my scanner," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I didn't know anyone still lived here." She studied me for a long moment before answering. "This place has been mine long before your kind ever set foot on this world," she said, her voice smooth despite its strange rhythm, like it was being translated a heartbeat behind her thoughts. "You are the first to enter these halls in many seasons and live long enough to speak." That should have terrified me more than it did. Instead, something about her calm, almost amused tone made me relax just slightly. "I'm Oliver," I said. I wasn't trying to trespass. I just followed the signal. You followed curiosity, she corrected, stepping closer, her presence filling the room in a way that made the air feel thinner. Curiosity is a dangerous trait for a creature as fragile as you. I managed a small laugh despite everything. Yeah, well, it's got me this far. Her eyes narrowed slightly, though not in anger. It was something closer to interest. Most who wander this far either run or fight, she said. You do neither. Running seemed pointless, I admitted, and fighting you seems like a really bad idea. For the first time, she made a sound that I could only describe as amusement, a low clicking noise deep in her throat. You are either very brave or very foolish, human. Probably both, I said, and for a moment, the tension in the room eased just enough for me to actually look around instead of just watching her every move. The armor, I said, nodding toward the platform behind her. It's incredible work. Whoever made it really outdid themselves. It was made for me, she said, and there was something proud in the way she said it, something almost personal. Before the war took everything else, this was the seat of my authority. This armor was worn only in the greatest of battles. I studied it again, careful not to get too close. I meant it as a joke earlier, I admitted, calling it fancy. I didn't expect it to belong to someone like you. Someone like me, she repeated, tilting her head again. And what exactly do you think I am? I thought about lying, about giving some polite answer meant to keep the peace, but something told me she would see through it instantly. Honestly, I said, I think you're the last of something big. Something that used to run this whole place before everything fell apart. Her posture shifted slightly, and for a moment the room felt heavier, filled with something unspoken. You are not wrong, she said quietly. My people are gone. My hive fell during the final years of the war. I remained behind because there was nothing left to return to. I didn't know what to say to that. Sympathy felt wrong coming from a stranger who had almost ended his life minutes earlier, but pretending I felt nothing would have been worse. I'm sorry, I said simply. That's a heavy thing to carry alone. She was quiet for a long moment, studying me with those 6 golden eyes, as if trying to decide whether my words were sincere or simply another human trick. Then she spoke again, her voice softer than before. You are the first outsider to speak to me with anything other than fear or hostility. That's probably because I'm too scared to be anything else, I said honestly, and she made that clicking sound again, longer this time, almost like a real laugh. You have a strange way of speaking to something that could end you in a single motion, she said. Would it help if I said I have really bad instincts? I asked, and this time the sound she made was unmistakably laughter, rich and rolling, filling the empty tower with something it had not held in a very long time. For a while we simply stood there, the tension slowly draining from the room, replaced by something neither of us expected. She asked about my world, about what had changed since the war ended, about the kind of creatures that still wandered these ruins searching for scraps of old technology. I asked about her people, about the hive she once ruled, about the battles that had shaped this armor into the masterpiece standing behind her. Time passed strangely in that room, the outside world forgotten for a while as 2 very different beings found common ground in the silence of a dead city. Eventually, she stepped back, studying me one final time before speaking. You may leave this place unharmed, she said, and for the first time I felt truly certain she meant it. But know this, human, you have wandered into something far older and far more dangerous than any signal on your scanner could measure. I nodded slowly, unsure whether to feel relieved or unsettled. Can I ask you something? I said before I could stop myself. She tilted her head, waiting. Do you ever get lonely out here? I asked, the question slipping out before I could think better of it. Her eyes softened slightly, the closest thing to vulnerability I had seen from her since we met. Every day, she admitted quietly. I hesitated, then said something I never expected to offer a stranger, especially one capable of ending my life with a single motion. Maybe I could come back sometime, I said, not to take anything, just to talk. She studied me for a long moment, something unreadable passing behind those golden eyes. Perhaps, she said finally, you may return. As I made my way back through the broken hallway and out into the fading light of the ruined city, my heart was still pounding, though not entirely from fear anymore. Somewhere behind me, in the silence of that ancient tower, something that had been alone for far too long finally had a reason to wait for tomorrow. And so did I.